John, we cover a 5-8 NFL team. And in that context, this show is probably going to be a ridiculously happy, optimistic show. And I'm going to apologize for that up front. If you want to hear us complaining about this team and the bad season they've had and all things have gone wrong, well, you can pick another week. And we might get back to it next week. But this week, we actually saw some good stuff, and we should celebrate it. And we'll get to Kevin O'Connell and his messaging and how it worked this week in a 31-0 victory over Washington. But we have to start with J.J. McCarthy. I was there yesterday, and the interesting thing about him and why I haven't written him off to date is we've seen him do really hard stuff well. We've seen him lead comebacks. We've seen him win on the road against division opponents that are actually very good. We've seen him do really difficult stuff. We've seen him win a national championship in Michigan. He wasn't doing the easy things well, or the relatively easy things well. He wasn't hitting the wide open receiver in stride. He wasn't, throwing the ball within 12 feet of Justin Jefferson. He wasn't managing the pocket. He was doing so many basic little things wrong. And I didn't know if that was a good thing because it was easy to fix or a terrible thing because he wasn't being professional about it. He did all the little things well on Sunday against Washington, and all of a sudden you look up and he's played a close to perfect game.
Yeah, I mean, for Washington is not a good team, obviously. Nope. But this is what any quarterback with any sort of future should be able to do against a team like this. And they're just going into the game. You could not say with any certainty that McCarthy was going to be able to have this kind of just really solid, kind of fundamentally sound game plan and execution of it. And it turns out that him being able to do that is it's a big step in the right direction, I believe. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on this show, but what I have always said through even the darkest moments of this season is that I did not believe that J.J. McCarthy was Christian Ponder in terms of a player who just didn't look like he had any sort of handle on the position or redeeming qualities as a quarterback. Like you said, Jim, we've seen him make big plays and make difficult situations work, throughout this season. But to see them now kind of have the 98-yard drive, to see him have just a methodical, professional performance was something that needed to happen. And I think is something that he can certainly build on and that this team can build on going forward the rest of the year, whether they win anymore or not, or whether, what happens. Having a game like this really does help take a little bit of the pressure, or maybe even a lot of the pressure off of McCarthy, because now he's got two really good games this year at Detroit and against Washington, and then a few very good moments. And, those are things that you can look at and say, all right, let's just keep at this and keep chipping away at it and see if you can start to stack more of these together.
This is the Viking Update Show. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. We appreciate you watching or listening if you're hearing the audio. We also do this show and the John Krawczynski Show, our Timberwolves and NBA show on YouTube. Randy Shaver also does his high school football show on YouTube. Everything else can be accessed at TalkNorth.com or on your favorite podcast app. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
It's Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Yep, Jack Frost is back, and he's not just nipping at your nose. He's eyeing your furnace and those leaky faucets, too. Don't let him crash your holidays. Call Aquarius and get $98 off any plumbing or furnace repair. Enjoy your holidays and let Aquarius take care of your home service needs. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
And we're presented to you by Onyx Hunt. We'll tell you more about them here in a little bit. So he had his quickest release time. It's an awkward stat. I'm trying to find the right way to phrase it. He got rid of the ball faster than he has in any other game this year. He had his first 3 touchdown game. He had his first 0 interception game. He had his highest completion percentage rate. He ran effectively. He dove effectively, which is a great way of avoiding getting hit in the head, because if you dive at people's ankles, they're going to get out of the way. He scrambled effectively. He looked comfortable in the pocket. And here's probably the biggest point for me. Having spent so much time covering baseball and having had so many conversations with great, Hall of Fame hitters about mechanics and everything. And one thing I always figured out in baseball was, if you have the wrong thought in your head, you're going to have bad mechanics. If you go up trying to hit a home run 800 feet to left field and somebody throws you a slider outside the plate, your mechanics are going to look like you've never swung a bat before. You've got no chance. I always felt like the analysis of McCarthy's mechanics was both accurate and misguided. Yeah, he had bad mechanics. It's because he was freaking out. You can't have good mechanics if you're panicked, or if you're worried, or if you're thinking too hard, if you're trying too hard. And it was remarkable to see him being calm, and how being calm settled down his feet, and how settling down his feet ended up allowing him to make the routine throw accurately, and how being decisive and getting rid of the ball quickly, that prevents all kinds of problems. It prevents sacks. It prevents interceptions. It gets the ball to people who are in a position and at a time where they can run with it. It beats defenses that are trying to close out your best receiver. It's remarkable how just composure led to this performance.
Yeah, and I think that, to Kevin O'Connell's credit, I think we can say he finally did recognize that whether it is the right or the wrong thing, or J.J. McCarthy was swimming. His head was just overwhelmed with all of the adjustments to make at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap, with all of the thought processes that he was trying to go through while a play was developing. And ultimately, Kevin O'Connell says we just have to simplify things. And I don't know that everyone on the offense was exactly happy with that, because I do think that there is a certain expectation and a standard for NFL quarterback play that when you're playing at this level, you have to be able to handle the complex and make it simple, because those are the guys who just really excel at the position. But he's very, very young. He does not have much experience under his belt, not many starts in college, certainly not in the NFL yet. And in college, while I have pushed back on the thought that Michigan never really asked him to do anything, which I don't think is the right thing, it certainly was a more trimmed down version of offense that they ran. And he made big plays, and he made good throws, and he led the team to a ton of wins and all of that. But he was not running a wide open, complex system with a lot of different checks, with a lot of different verbiage and things that you had to go through. So I do think that he was overwhelmed with the volume of plays, all of the things that Kevin O'Connell was trying to get him to do earlier in this season. And so by kind of giving him the crib notes version of this offense, it allows him to not be as weighed down by all of the things that should make this offense hum. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that he looked more composed, that he looked more sure of himself, that he operated with a smoothness and an aggression that he had not had before. Is this sort of a long-term solution to him being a viable NFL quarterback? Probably not, Jim. I think that eventually he's going to have to expand his ability to think the game, to see it and to make those decisions a lot quicker. But in the meantime, building a little confidence, getting his feet underneath him, and spoon feeding him a little bit more is the right way to go, I think. And I think that he, after the game, you listen to him talk, and it just seemed to be a relief that, yes, I can do this. Yes, this is possible. And so this is like step maybe 2 of a 20-step process to get him to a place where he is in full command of a complex and diverse offense that can really make big plays. But you got to start somewhere, and they finally did this week.
I want to make another point about O'Connell and a point about the nature of the NFL. Let's do that in a second. I do want to tell you that, hey, if you're one of those people, crazy people who like ice fishing, well, you're going to want the Onyx Fish app. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. Onyx Fish also shows you hot spots, lake by lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download Onyx Fish on the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game on or under ice. We also want to thank Twill and the Dining Galleria. I've loved working with Twill by Scott Dayton and the Dining Galleria. First of all, there's no better place to go Christmas shopping or holiday shopping, whatever your bent is. There's no better place than that store. There's no better place than the Dining Galleria. Beautiful place to walk around, good food, good coffee, a great bookstore, and the best men's clothing store in Minnesota. Stop by, tell them we sent you. You will love the selection. You'll love the fact that you can buy anything from a beautiful Italian suit to golf shorts and socks. I mean, you got everything you want, and the staff is filled with expertise. These are people who this is their job. They take great pride in it. They will help you. It's a relaxed experience. It's my favorite experience. Twill and the Dining Galleria, twillmn.com. So first, let me make a point about O'Connell. His reputation was built on what? Being the offensive coordinator when Matthew Stafford came to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. Stafford is one of the smartest quarterbacks and probably one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. Incredibly experienced as well. O'Connell comes to Minnesota. What does he do? He takes Kirk Cousins, a good quarterback at that point in his career, and helps him improve by 10%, which ends up winning them a lot of close games and helping Cousins play better in key situations. Then with Sam Darnold, what does he do? He takes a guy who'd spent the previous year with Kyle Shanahan, who had played well for a month here and a month there during his career, and he helped him have a good 3.5 months. He was taking guys who had a certain level of experience and success and helping to expand on that. This is different. This is completely different. And I always thought with McCarthy, as good as O'Connell is, what he does, McCarthy would have been better off like Pat Shurmur or Gary Kubiak starting his career. Run the ball, play action, bootleg, always have a tight end there for the check down, keep things simple, take a shot every once in a while, but don't really ask the quarterback to win the game as much as just move the sticks and play complementary football. And that's what we saw on Sunday against the Commanders. We saw O'Connell adapting to what J.J. McCarthy is instead of coaching him like what he hopes he will eventually be.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. I mean, one of Kevin O'Connell's superpowers does seem to be, let me take a quarterback who has been put through the ringer, like has, either been criticized, has had, quarterback or a coordinator changes, head coach changes, has been bounced around the league to different teams, but has physical talent. And let me just get him into my system. Let me instill some confidence in him. Let me then work with him in a way to establish to fit him into the offense that I like to run, but also give him sort of a newfound level of belief in himself because the coach has so much belief in him. Like, he does a really good job of instilling that. And I think that he so far has shown to be better suited to be playing with deeply experienced quarterbacks because, Darnold had a lot of experience. Even if he had struggled, he had been through the wars a little bit in the NFL, had a bunch of starts in college and all of that. And same with Cousins, like he had been through a bunch of stuff. Stafford had come to the Rams from Detroit and had been through everything you could possibly go through with the Lions. And so this is an entirely new experience for Kevin O'Connell in that now, he's taken someone in J.J. McCarthy who hasn't seen anything yet, who is just really trying to get his bearings in the league with his teammates, with his opponents, with offense, with all of those things. And he is like literally learning everything brand new. And, a couple of times where we've seen O'Connell's quarterback struggle a little bit is, kind of, with like Josh Dobbs, for instance, the first game or two was great because he was just flying by the seat of his pants. They did simplify everything really, really down to the bare bones, and he went out and executed and went well. And then after that, it was, okay, let's try and add more to your plate and expand this out. And then it really just did not work at all. And, I'm sure a lot of that is a Dobbs problem, but, the challenge that Kevin O'Connell has here with JJ McCarthy is starting completely from scratch, giving him a base to work with from the very basics. And he's talked about the mechanics and the footwork and all of the things that they're going through, and then building on it over time. And I do think that, I don't know, I don't want to call it a mistake, but it does seem like the overestimation early on was that JJ McCarthy was going to be ready for the full plate right out of the gate. And he wasn't. It was clear of that. And so this is a different process for Kevin O'Connell to navigate. And so I think that he needed to recognize, and maybe now is starting to recognize, that got to dial things back and just get this kid confident, get this kid comfortable. And then hopefully over the next several starts, but primarily over the next offseason and going into next season, and you can build and build and build on that instead of just like really just saying, hey, here's the whole playbook. We got to go do it this way. And part of that too, Jim, is because of the expectations of this team. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot harder to try to do it the simple way when you're really, really trying to win a ton of games. And so maybe that was the flaw at the start of this thing as well. And, if they can kind of circle back and reset it now that the pressure to win is off, maybe that will help build an on-ramp to a career for him by just going at it this season, the final 4 games, with that kind of approach.
And everything we're saying here kind of explains why McCarthy previously had been great in some clutch situations and bad in less clutch situations. These clutch situations force urgency upon you. They force decisiveness. You have to make it. Yeah, it's do or die. You got to do it. You got to rip the throw. You got to take off and get to the end zone. Whereas, second quarter, second 8, and you're thinking, oh boy, I haven't gotten the ball to Justin Jefferson for a while here, and KO really loves this play, and boy, I better hang in the pocket until he gets open. You can't do that in clutch situations. You can do that in the second quarter. You shouldn't, but you can. So I think that explains why he's been so good in moments, but not consistently.
Yeah, I just think he's had to think too much throughout this season, and seeing him do the can at the line of scrimmage and all that, it would be great if he just had a natural aptitude for it that was ready to, and he was ready to absorb and apply it right out of the chute. And there are quarterbacks, the younger quarterbacks that we've seen that have been able to do that, but a lot of them have been of the Jaden Daniels ilk that were in college for 4 or 5 years through the COVID stuff and starting a ton of games for several schools and all of those things. And JJ just wasn't that way. That was not his experience. And so I just think he needs a more gradual build up to that point. And that will at least give him a chance. It doesn't guarantee, but at least gives him a better chance to be a success in this league.
I will also say this. I have no idea where McCarthy's career is going.
Right.
But the Hall of Fame is filled with quarterbacks who had a bad first season. Mm-hmm. You can look it up. In fact, I'm looking it up this morning to write a column about it. Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, Peyton Manning, John Elway, Joe Montana, they all had either mediocre or absolutely horrific first years. Some of them as rookies, some later on. It does happen. That doesn't mean it's automatic for McCarthy. Of course not. He's got a long way to go. But it wouldn't be the strangest thing in the world if he ended up using this year to take his lumps, then he ended up being a good quarterback down the road. It just wouldn't be that unusual.
It absolutely. That is a possibility. It's certainly not a guarantee. I still remember, Jim, when I've told this story, I think with Barrero, but Christian Ponder's end of his first year or beginning of the second year, I can't remember. Rick Spielman had a bunch of the beat guys in his office for a roundtable discussion, and he took out all of Eli Manning's stats.
Yep. Eli was
and read them to us and said, "Hey, you guys just don't see it. I'm telling you, this is going to happen." And it did not happen. Like I said, I think McCarthy has shown more already than Ponder.
Yeah.
But just because you can also, for as many quarterbacks who had tough first years and went on to be great, you can find a ton more that had tough first years and were out of the league. So we'll see about that. But here's what I'll say: the one thing that I kind of felt coming out of the game sort of was I felt like my initial reaction was good for JJ, in that one thing that we can say definitively about him, if we can't speak with authority about where his career is going, what exactly is going to come of him, what we do know and what I can say confidently is, man, this kid really, really wants this.
Yeah.
It means a lot to him. He wants to be great. He wants to be there for his teammates and have them look at him as a leader. He is fully invested. And there are many young quarterbacks who have come in that just didn't want it, that just were not into it enough. And JJ really, really wants this. And so to have a moment like he did against Washington was good for him, in that I think that it helps to calm his mind a little bit and validate him a little bit more. And so if it doesn't work out, it is not going to be because he wasn't willing to put the work in, because he, just didn't take this seriously enough, all of that stuff. It will be for other reasons, but that he's been absolutely busting his ass trying to get better. That he's taken it very personally when it has not worked out well. And so for him to have a performance like that, I just felt good for him, because I know how hard he's been taking this and how badly he wants to be good at this.
I remember talking to some Vikings people when it became obvious that Ponder was not going to be able to do it. And one thing one person said was, likable enough guy, but came from a pretty affluent background. He doesn't really need this. It would have been nice if he'd been good, but he didn't need to be good. I think JJ McCarthy needs to be good. I think whatever, and I don't even know what his background is, but there's no sense with JJ McCarthy that, okay, I'll just go up and move on to the next thing. He is fully invested, and he will give you his best shot. We just have to see how good his best shot is.
Yep, absolutely. And so I am very, very interested to see how he builds off of this, because now you go into a Sunday night game at Dallas, a huge opportunity. And how does he handle that? How does he deal with, I think he said right after the game that it's important to be able to deal with adversity, but it's also important to be able to deal with a little success as well. And so this will be a very good litmus test for him, because now everyone in the league is going to be watching him on Sunday night. He is going to be internally amped, no question about it. And how can he process all of this that he has just gone through and try and deliver another just really solid performance, which is what they need in that game as well.
I have a point to make about what has happened to Washington this year in context of what's happened to the Vikings this year as well. Let's get to that. First, we do want to thank the Minnesota State Lottery.
She's Jen, the ultimate Vikings fan.
Welcome to the Vikings Jan Show Fan Show. My special guest today is Victor, the Vikings mascot. Victor, who you got for the Vikings game this week? I'll take that as Vikings. So that's our show. We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Minnesota Lottery, who reminds you this could be your year. So play the new Vikings Scratch game for a shot at $100,000, game tickets, and more. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
And here's Talk North star Michael Russo, our hockey expert for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
Someone very close to me, diehard Viking fan, was saying, okay, yeah, JJ played well, but God, I just want to know that he's going to be good. I want it to be consistent. I want this to be just not a big deal when the Vikings quarterback plays well. And my answer was, well, you understand, if you actually watch the rest of the NFL a lot, Josh Allen has had terrible games, not only early in his career, this year. Joe Burrow had a terrible, he threw 2 interceptions in a row yesterday.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are going to miss the playoffs, and they're going to miss the playoffs because they didn't play well. There are no automatics. And then you look at Washington. Washington was in the NFC Championship game last year. They had the best quarterback of the 2024 draft at that time, Jaden Daniels, who was an MVP candidate. They had a coach who'd been at the Super Bowl before, so it didn't feel flukish. They could run the ball. Daniels was spectacular. They had good receivers. They had a good defense. They are now 3-10. They've lost however many in a row, and they look completely incompetent on Sunday. It just shows you this league, injuries and quarterback play. I wouldn't even say turnovers, because turnovers sometimes are a result of all the other things that are going on. Injuries and quarterback play. I mean, if you can stay healthy and you have a good quarterback staying healthy, you got a fighting chance. If you don't stay healthy, or if your quarterback isn't playing well that season, Patrick Mahomes is going to miss the playoffs. I mean, so it's not just about the quarterback, but whoever your quarterback is, even if he's going to the Hall of Fame, he's got to have a good year this year. So you look back at, everything that's happened this year, as bad a season has been, and it's been a horrific season. McCarthy plays 10% better, and they have a few fewer injuries, and they won a couple of close games. They just aren't that far off.
Yeah, and here's the other part about that, Jim, is that, your friend or whatever was talking about that. If you would have taken a poll at the end of last season and said, what is the pathway that you want for this team to take? I would say probably 85% of Vikings fans would have said, as they have been saying for a while now, I just want to get our own quarterback and develop him and grow with him and have this be enough of these bridge quarterbacks. Like, let's go down this road. Let's do what the Patriots are doing with Drake May, with the Commanders are doing with Jaden Daniels, with Bears, Caleb Williams, all of these things. Like, that's what I want. Like, this is the way forward. And what the problem with that, or the lack of recognition of taking that path, is that when you are watching Jaden Daniels with the Commanders, Joe Burrow with the Bengals when he was young, all of these people, you are not in that incubator every step of the way, watching every single Bengals game, every single Commanders game. So all you're processing that situation with is what you see on highlights on, Sunday Ticket, whatever it is, on Twitter, and like, oh, here's Jay and Daniels throwing this pass, and isn't this great? And in general, like if you just take the wide angle view of it, it is great. Like you start at one point, they get better and better, you go there. But when you're in the trenches watching your team week to week, even like watching training camp practices and dissecting all of the coverage, you look at it and say, man, JJ looks terrible this week. Oh, this isn't working. Like what's happening? But really what this is the process that every team goes through. It's just that you're paying more close attention to this Vikings process because you're a Vikings fan. And so the day-to-day grind of developing a young quarterback like this is just that. It is not a linear progression from arrive, take the reins, just kill it all the way. And man, this is fun and exciting and everything is great. There are bad days and there are difficulties that everyone goes through. I think that McCarthy has had probably a few more of them than some of his, contemporaries, but still, like, this is the process, man. Like, this is what you guys wanted. You wanted the young quarterback. And so now you're in it, and it's very hard week to week in the NFL to lose a game, 2 games, and not just want to jump off a cliff. Like that's the nature of it. But the smarter fan, the more pragmatic organization is going to understand that this is going to be a bumpy road. And the worst thing we can do is panic or just say that everything is great when everything is great. Like you have to maintain a level head. And that's very, very hard to do when you're in the just day-to-day of it and you're paying such close attention to it, where they were not paying attention to what Drake May went through last year. They were not paying attention to the difficulties that Josh Allen had early on in his career. Like they just see now where Josh Allen is now and be like, yes, that's the way to go. But you got to endure some stuff. And right now the Vikings are enduring that.
Last note for today's show. Again, we appreciate you watching and or listening. We've both been hard on O'Connell for certain reasons, certain times this year. I certainly have, in print a lot. I give him credit for his messaging this week. They lose, they've lost a couple of brutal games. We know they're out of contention, and the games. And I know I ran a bunch of people already the last 24 hours saying, "Oh, great! Now they're winning games when they should be losing. Get a draft pick." All that stuff. Listen, they're still professionals. You can't. The coach is never going to tank, right? If the ownership or the general manager decides to tank and take some people off the roster or whatever, that's a completely different thing. The coach and the players are not going. They shouldn't tank. They got to play it out. They also have to learn how to win with JJ McCarthy as their quarterback. So I think they have to continue to try to win and play these games like they're meaningful, because they are meaningful. So I thought the fact that O'Connell and his coaching staff came up with the idea, hey, think back to when you're 16 and what it would have meant for you to be in the NFL, making good money on a team, with people that you like, playing in front of full stadiums on national TV. Think about what the 16-year-old you would have thought about playing in this game. I thought it was great messaging. And of course, you got to win for anybody to even mention that you said it during the week. Sometimes the best messages get buried because you lost. But I thought it was, I thought it was not only shrewd, I also thought it was refreshing, because the NFL is such a brutal game. It's such a brutal business. Short careers, devastating injuries, fan reaction, everything, dealing with people like me and you. It's a tough job. And I really thought that O'Connell did a great job giving his team a refreshing message going into this week.
I think that's, if you want to look at all of McConnell's strengths and weaknesses, or all of O'Connell's, strengths and weaknesses as a head coach, one of his greatest strengths is understanding what his team needs to hear in whatever moment it needs to hear it. And so I agree with you that especially after the previous week and how down everyone was and how bleak it looked. That was not a moment to kind of drill down and, ride them or, kind of berate or anything like that. That was a moment for a pickup. And that's exactly what O'Connell sensed and then what he delivered. And there are times when you can take that path and it can come off as a little corny, but that was not what happened last week. That was an absolute mental reset of the group to try and appeal to their most basic sense of fun, of joy, of all of the things that were rapidly leaving the environment and kind of threatening to just turn a very difficult season into a complete disaster. And so for him to recognize that, and especially I think with his quarterback, the way that he responds to that kind of messaging and deliver it that way, it does speak to the emotional intelligence that Kevin O'Connell has. I mean, he is off the charts when it comes to being able to relate to his players, being able to appeal to whatever motivates them, and being able to get them to sort of buy into what he is selling. And that is a hard thing to do in the cynical NFL world. And O'Connell has done a great job of doing that and of just giving this team what it needs on that, from that aspect on a weekly basis. And so I think that will continue going forward here. And he just has to push the right buttons. And you're right, Jim. I mean, they have a young quarterback. Like, this is not the time to tank. This is the time to really dig in and try and build some base and foundation for JJ McCarthy to go through going into next season. Because when you get into this business with a young quarterback, it is a multi-year process. Like, you cannot, unless it is just overwhelming the evidence, you cannot bail on him after 1 year. Like, and so O'Connell recognizes that, and he really did understand what this team needed in that moment, and he went and delivered it and gave it to them, and they played both offensively and defensively, which we didn't talk much about, but the defense was great. They all played much freer than they had been, and that's a credit to what O'Connell kind of did to prepare them for this week.
Yeah, both in writing and talking about it on this podcast, I felt really weird not mentioning a shutout. Shutouts are really hard. I don't care who you're playing. Shutouts are really, and Washington has scored some points. I like to get shut out every week. Shutting out a team is a remarkable achievement, but the season's all about McCarthy at this point.
100%. Yep, exactly. It's like that because of all the losses that have happened already, the one and only priority is developing this quarterback so that you can go into next season with some sort of confidence that he can take a second year jump forward the way that Drake May did. Like, Drake May was all right as a rookie. He was fine, but he's been amazing this year. I don't know that McCarthy's going to make the same leap, but you have to do everything you can to build on that. And if you build on that, Jim, the other part of it is this defense is going to start to maybe believe a little bit more and will play with a little bit more of a hop in its step, because they know that they're not coming out there as soon as they get off the field. They're not back out in 3 plays and a punt, like, or with an interception. And so everything revolves around what happens with JJ McCarthy. And that's the way that this has to be treated.
Last sentence of the show. Thank you, Kevin O'Connell, for running the ball. I won't even elaborate.
Amen.
We all know what it means. They ran the ball, and that makes everybody's life easier.
Amen.
Good stuff, John. Thank you. Please check out the John Krawczynski show, which will be out here in more toward the middle of the week. The Wolves are on a nice little run here. Check out all the other shows at TalkNorth.com. We have great people, and we appreciate you watching and listening.